As we have all been long aware, the modern university as a whole is in a kind of perpetual crisis these days, with major disruptions coming from, among others, technology, economics, and politics. What do you see as the trends and the idea of the university that you find the most appealing and have the most resources for a kind of inventing of a new university?
The modern university is an interesting animal. Since 2008, a thread, which was, I think, there from the early 19th century, has reappeared, which is basically to say what we really want universities to do is to train students for jobs. Economic downturn makes the earning of a living important. It's always important. And this has become heightened. When even Barack Obama, a great advocate of higher education, says that it's maybe more important to learn engineering than art history, then you know that the humanities themselves are under fire. But they're under fire for a very specific reason. At the beginning of the 19th century, the rise of the modern university had a very interesting context, and this is true in the emerging German states with people like Wilhelm von Humboldt, in Britain and in France. They were universities in an age of industrialization, the rise of technology, the replacement of religion by science, which is a cliche, but not a wrong cliche. And what happens in the 19th century is that in order to preserve something that is seen as ethical, the humanities are given a kind of aura. And we see it, by the way, most clearly in the 1850s in John Henry Newman's ideas of a university. Newman wants to create a Catholic university. And it has to be a modern university because it has to have science. And what he says is you've got to have theology for ethics. But in an age in the 19th century in which theology gets replaced by science, by the time we get to Matthew Arnold in the 1860s, the aura of theology is given to the humanities. We don't study the Bible anymore, we study Shakespeare. Why? To make us a better person. And this has been, of course, an enormous failure, because I don't want to break the news to people, but studying the humanities doesn't make you more humane. It gives you knowledge in specific fields, it gives you specific ways of asking questions, it gives you certain ways of thinking about evidence, but it doesn't innately make you better than a person who studies chemistry or medicine or law. And so one of the things that has happened is that we've struggled with this aura of theology in the humanities to a point when someone says, but that's the emperor's clothes. What you really want to do, and Matthew Arnold makes fun of Ezra Cornell's university, because Ezra Cornell's university, founded also in the 1860s, thinks that technology and the teaching of hydrology is as important as the teaching of literature. And Arnold says, that's silly, he says, because we know that it doesn't elevate. Well, that's a promise that we failed with because it's a false promise. So one of the answers may well be is to think about the humanities, the natural sciences, the biological sciences, and the professional schools as having interlocked and therefore equivalent value. But interdisciplinarity provides a way of having multiple ways of reading the world. Reading Ibsen's play that deals with public health may not make you a better person, but it's a thought experiment about how far would we go to hide ugly truths if it's going to affect the economy in which we live. Those are thought experiments which can take place, by the way, in public health just as well, but it forces then people in public health and studying Ibsen to look at these thought experiments as a way of helping undergraduates and maybe even professional students to rethink their own disciplines.